happen at lightweight now. I hope, as crazy as it sounds, I hope Ilia goes up to 55. I really do.
What about
Volkanovski, Diego Lopez, 45.
I'll take that.
Ilia goes up to 55. Fuck, I don't care if he only defended title one time or didn't.
Agree.
Who cares?
You want Ilia to fight Makhachev?
Let's go.
Oh.
What if I told you the UFC's next potential super fight may never happen? Not because of injuries, scheduling, or contract drama, but because one man is allegedly asking for a jaw-dropping $55 million just to show up. That's the number Joe Rogan just dropped on his podcast, and it sent shockwaves through the MMA world. The fight? Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. One's the most dominant lightweight alive. The other just flatlined two legends and wants to jump divisions. But this isn't just about money. It's about legacy, timing, and one question the entire fight world is debating. Is Islam ducking Ilia, or is this a calculated power move? The MMA world was quiet until Joe Rogan opened his mouth. On his Fight Companion podcast, he casually dropped a line that stopped fans in their tracks. Islam Makhachev is allegedly asking for $55 million to fight Ilia Topuria. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't speculation. Rogan said it like a fact. No fluff, no hedging. And just like that, what had been a fantasy matchup suddenly became the most talked about potential fight in the UFC. Immediately, fans, analysts, and fighters started asking the same thing. Is this real? And more importantly, why so much? In a sport where even champions rarely touch 8-figure payouts, that number sounded like something out of boxing, not MMA. But Rogan didn't just mention the price tag. He backed the matchup itself with intensity. In his view, this was the fight to make. Not tomorrow, not later, now. But Rogan's urgency also raised a question he didn't directly answer. Was this reveal meant to pressure the UFC or expose something Islam didn't want public? For Rogan, this isn't about rankings or divisions. It's about impact. Ilia Topuria has done what no one else has. He knocked out Max Holloway. He stopped Alexander Volkanovski clean. These weren't lucky punches. These were definitive, brutal endings to two of the most durable legends in MMA history. So when critics say Topuria hasn't defended his belt, Rogan waves it off. Who cares? He says. In his mind, the featherweight division has nothing left to offer someone like Ilia. The real test is at 155, and not against just anyone, but against the most dominant lightweight alive. This isn't just champion versus champion. It's a stylistic chaos waiting to happen. A fast, explosive striker moving up in weight to challenge the calm, suffocating grappler with one of the most calculated minds in the game. Rogan knows what that looks like. He knows what it sells. He's not just calling for a fight, he's practically demanding it, because to him, this is the wild card the UFC desperately needs. But from Islam's corner, it's not so simple. If you're Makhachev, the Topuria fight is all risk and almost no reward. You're the bigger man, the reigning champ. You've already beaten Volkanovski twice. So what happens if you beat Ilia? Critics shrug. Well, he was just a featherweight. And if you lose, suddenly your entire run gets questioned. Rogan's a bombshell only added to that perception. Why $55 million? It's such a high number that it almost feels like a polite way of saying, no thanks. In boxing, sure, those numbers fly. But in the UFC, Dana White has never signed a check like that. So maybe Islam isn't scared. Maybe he's just not interested, unless the deal is outrageous. To some fans, it looks like ducking. To others, it looks like strategy. But one thing is clear. That number changed the conversation from fighting to business. And that's exactly what makes it so divisive. There's a twist that most fans missed, but Chael Sonnen didn't. He believes this entire saga could have played out differently if the UFC had just made one decision. Put the BMF title on the line during Ilia Topuria's fight with Max Holloway. Holloway now holds the BMF belt, but when he fought Ilia, it wasn't up for grabs. According to Sonnen, that's a massive error. Had Topuria won that symbolic title, the marketing machine would have gone into overdrive. Champion versus champion. Featherweight king versus lightweight king. A BMF twist on top of that. That's a perfect storm. Sonnen argues that with the belt, Ilia would have had undeniable leverage. The UFC would have had no choice but to promote the hell out of it. And Islam? He wouldn't be able to ignore it anymore, but instead, Ilia's win, devastating as it was, feels incomplete. No title, no narrative anchor, just a knockout that faded too quickly. It's a marketing misfire that might have cost us one of the UFC's biggest matchups in years. Even if Topuria wants the shot, even if the fans demand it, there's one giant roadblock: competition. The lightweight division is a shark tank, and names like Armand Tsarukyan and Justin Gaethje aren't sitting quietly. Tsarukyan, in particular, is making a real case. His first fight with Islam, though early, was gritty and competitive. Since then, he's evolved into a monster, technical, durable, and aggressive. Many argue that Arman deserves the next shot way more than a featherweight who just arrived. Then there's Gaethje. Despite his brutal KO loss to Holloway, some insiders still believe he could land the Islam fight. And if you're the UFC, Gaethje brings name value, drama, and guaranteed chaos. So even as Topuria's name heats up, he's far from alone in line. That's the real dilemma. Do you reward the money fight or the merit fight? For now, the UFC hasn't answered, and fans are stuck watching contenders circle like wolves with no official direction. Then something strange happened. Both Islam and Ilia quietly started training camps around the same time. It wasn't announced, it wasn't hyped, but if you were paying attention, the signs were there. A YouTube vlog showed Islam's coach cutting an interview short to avoid letting Islam get sick because we have training camp days. Later, Topuria posted that he was already in fight prep too. The timelines match. The UFC's flagship International Fight Week in late June suddenly lines up perfectly. Fans noticed. Twitter exploded. Could the fight already be booked behind the scenes? And if so, why the secrecy? Why the radio silence from Dana, Rogan, and the fighters themselves? It feels like we're in the eye of a storm. Everything calm on the surface, but something massive building underneath. The overlap isn't a coincidence. It's a signal. One that suggests the real announcement is coming. And soon. Here's the thing. This isn't just about rankings or belts. It's about what sells and what matters. Islam Makhachev is, by all accounts, one of the most dominant fighters in the world. But dominance can become boring without drama. That's why this fight is so important. Ilia Topuria is undefeated, charismatic, explosive. He brings chaos to Islam's control. He brings stakes to a division that's starting to feel too neat. And if the UFC can pull it off, they'll finally have a narrative worth following. Not just another title defense, but a dangerous gamble. A collision of styles, legacies, and fan bases. But here's the risk. If they wait too long, the hype dies. If Ilia takes a warm-up and loses, it's over. If Islam moves up or takes a different fight, it's gone. Right now, the window is open. But like most things in the UFC, that window closes fast. So where does that leave us? With a potential super fight and no clear path. The $55 million price tag still looms like a shadow. Is it real? Is it just leverage? Nobody knows. But what's certain is this. The fans want it. The analysts want it. Even Joe Rogan can't stop talking about it. And if the signs are correct, if the training camps are real, if the timing holds, then we may be just weeks away from the UFC's next massive announcement. The kind that doesn't just break news, but breaks the internet. Because if Ilia Topuria really gets his shot, it won't just be a fight, it'll be a reckoning.